This time we're going to focus on a character's feelings or emotions. Remembering inference is when you use both evidence from the story as well as your own schema to dig deeper into the story and go beyond what the author has said. So, thinking about how Jim feels, our story says the bus driver pulled out of the station. Jim's heart beat fast. He had never traveled alone. He waved goodbye to his grandparents. The bus will be in Tucson in 2 hours, Jim told himself. He checked his watch. Jim pictured his father waiting for the bus in Tucson. 2 hours will be over in no time, Jim said. Now I'm trying to think about how Jim feels, and based on the evidence, I'm debating between two feelings. He might be excited. I know that when you're excited, your heart is beating fast, and he's going on a trip where he gets to see his dad, and that would make me excited. I also think he might be nervous, because again, when you're nervous, your heart also beats fast, and you could be nervous if you're traveling alone. So I have to think about what emotion I think I can prove most strongly, and in this case, I think I can prove that he's feeling nervous. So I think Jim feels nervous. Now I need to think about why. How can I prove that he feels nervous? I have to use the story clues in order to help me with this. Now, the things that I specifically pointed out was the fact that his heart was beating fast. So because the story said his heart beat fast. I also noticed that he was traveling alone. And I noticed that he kept reassuring himself. In that last sentence, he said 2 hours will be over in no time. He reassured himself that the trip would go quickly. Now I need to say, so what? So what his heart was beating fast? So what he was traveling alone? So what he was reassuring himself? How does that prove that he was nervous? Well, I know that when you're doing something alone for the first time, you don't always know how it will turn out. And that can make you nervous or anxious feeling. When I feel this way, I try to talk to myself and reassure myself that things will be okay, just like Jim did. Now, if I want to bring this up to a level 4, I would have to say, so what? How does this help me? Well, this helps me to know how the character is feeling, which will explain some of his future actions. So this helps me to understand his current emotions, which might explain his future actions because I know I act in a certain way based on how I'm feeling. And it might help me to make predictions. I know that if he's nervous, he might end up calling his dad in a little bit just to get further reassurance that things will be okay. So it can also help me to make predictions. In this way, I have a strong level 4 inference. I think that Jim's nervous because the story said his heart was beating fast, he was traveling alone, and he was reassuring himself that the trip would go quickly. And I know that when you're doing something alone for the first time, you don't always know how it will turn out, and that can make you nervous or anxious feeling. And when I have felt this way, I often try to talk to myself to reassure myself that things will be okay, just like Jim did. This helps me to understand his current emotions, which might explain any future actions he takes, and it can also help me to make predictions. So since I have all 4 categories, this will be a level 4 inference.